Right then, this is a quick road test video, and this is for a Honda Civic, and it's the 1.6 diesel SE Plus Tourer. This particular car is registered OV14XFH, and mileage at the start of this road test is 69,903 miles. The reason we do these road tests is essentially just so people get to see the car that you're looking at online in an advert actually in operation. Gives us opportunity to feedback any issues there might be with the vehicle prior to coming to see us. We know just how frustrating it is to go and see a car, go for a test drive, only to find out it's got a fundamental problem which you should have been told about before setting off. So that's why I do it. So I'll go through the bits hopefully you'll feel whilst driving the car, also done on the same quiet country roads that any prospective buyer would go on test drive if offered. So coming to the engine, starting with that first, it's been very, very well maintained, this car. We've just serviced the vehicle, just gone through an independent MOT as well, by the way, where there were no advisories at all. Engine starts absolutely instantly. Settles to a completely smooth, even idle without any fluctuations at all. There are no warning lights at all on the dashboard relating to the engine or any other part of the vehicle either. Temperature gauge, the car's been running for quite some time now, is running at a third, which is exactly where it should be on a Honda car, regardless of fuel type. The engines themselves are brilliant units. They're famed for a couple of things. One is obviously their reliability, as you'd expect from a Honda car, and there is no diesel in this sector which is even close to it in terms of reliability. But also their fuel economy, which is extraordinary. I mean, it really is, and I've driven enough of them and owned enough of them to know that the claimed for figures are actually achievable, as opposed to certain manufacturers that we all know about. But the engines are just lovely to use day in, day out. That's the joy of them as well. It's not just a sort of a gruff sounding, horrible, uncouth engine. It's, once you're up and running, you don't really know it's a diesel as such. It's only in the lower gears that you'd ever, it gives any hint to that. And it's certainly kind of not clattery or harsh in any way, shape or form. Pulling through the revs like now, again, it pulls sweetly through the whole of the rev range. It doesn't sort of drag its heels and then suddenly go and then drop off. It pulls really nicely through the entire rev range of the car. Engine then feeds through clutch and into gearbox. Clutch on the car, positive, smooth in operation. Bite point is exactly where it should be, so absolutely spot on. The gearbox is just a fantastic gearbox, really. It's it doesn't exhibit any wear in it at all. But it's the quality of gear change which is so satisfying, and it's rare to find a manufacturer that puts so much effort into giving the linkage a really nice feel, because it's got a lovely mechanical feel. You feel as though you're feeling the gears actually engage, which in effect you're not really, of course, because it's cable operated, but they've just given you this lovely feel to it. It's a joyful thing to use. Steering of the car, really nicely weighted steering on these. It's very positive, very accurate indeed, quite quick to respond. Lovely steering wheel to feel sort of chunky and dynamic in hand as well. The steering itself, absolutely spot on. Tracks bullet straight. There's no vibrations at all coming through the steering wheel of the car at this speed or any speed up to the legal limit, but it just feels completely tight as it did when it was new. Chassis of the vehicle, what I'm looking for on these road tests is basically any signs of sort of wear coming up through the suspension of the car, and that normally manifests itself in sort of clonks or clanks coming from underneath, and that's nearly always, but not always, but nearly always kind of these little drop links that kind of chatter away. But it can be more serious stuff, but there's nothing on this at all. It's very quiet, and it's wonderfully composed, and that's probably the best description for this chassis. It gives you a very comfortable, compliant ride, very well controlled as well, but it also is very agile as well. It's got a lovely agility to the chassis, which, you know, it responds really nicely for the keener, more enthusiastic drivers. But it's, you know, it's the way they managed to combine the two, which is so good and very impressive as well. Coming inside the car, it's just in fantastic condition in here, it really is. Dashboard looks pretty much as new, but it's a wonderful dashboard to sit behind as well. It gives you a lovely visibility out to the front of the car, but that view in front is just so unique to the Civic. It's brilliant, beautifully made as well. They feel rock solid in here. It just feels like you're driving a much more expensive car. Everything's working exactly as it should. Air conditioning's absolutely ice cold, but the quality of the switchgear is absolutely second to none. Every button you press is the same very high quality damped actuation to it. But my favourite part, as always, this brilliant two-tier dash. You've got the sweeping dash. On the higher level, you've got the information you want to look at on a more regular basis, so things like kind of your radio information stuff on the little screen up there. But then in front of me, this is just genius really. This digital dash, or digital speedo rather, it's mounted so high that it doesn't in any way distract. It's quite the opposite. You don't really look at it, you just notice it there. Look at the road ahead, pedestrians, cars coming, etc., all the hazards on the road, but at the corner of your eye you can clearly see the speed you're doing at all times. It's just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Down below that we've got a more conventional pod, obviously, of the temperature gauge, fuel gauge and rev counter there. A little rev prompt light to let you know when to change up, but also when you're in econo mode, which I've just put on now, you get, as you're driving more economically, either side of the speedo there, you've got these blue lights which will turn green the more economically you're driving. It also does change things on the throttle response, etc., and it does work. It's very, very clever, and it's amazing when you're driving up the motorway and you see your green at the corner of your eye and it starts to change to blue, and it encourages you to back off. It's very, very clever indeed, but everything working exactly as it should. As I said at the start of the video, the point of it is to pick up with any issues whilst driving the vehicle that you might experience, and there's nothing at all. It drives absolutely beautifully, it really does. Both myself and my business partner Tony used to work at the Honda dealer in Bristol, so we know these cars very, very well, and if there's something whilst driving it that showed up, we would know about it pretty much straight away. Having said that, as always, if I've missed something on the video, please don't hesitate, do give us a call and we'll happily answer any questions you might have.